Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Joe Muck here with Next Home All Pro in episode one of a brand new series, Brokers and Brews. Technically, I'm not a broker, but I work for a broker, and a lot of people would say I'm a broker, so I think it's a nice, catchy title. Here we go. I want to be able to, work with people, talk to people, see what's going on in the industry. Sarah is my title person, but Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of talk about what brews we have and kind of go from there.
Sounds good. I'm Sarah Fierk. I'm from Title Partners. I've been at that company for just over 2 years, but I've been in the business since 2012. So um, you learn something new every day.
um, and so let's go with let's start us off. What's your brew, Sarah? What'd you bring to the table tonight?
Oh, I don't have an actual brew, but I have a nice little mix here.
Nice. And that mix is
My glass says "Call me old fashioned," and that's exactly what I'm drinking. They're my absolute
nice.
favorite. So
Well, tonight I did go with a brew because good old fashioned Bell's Two Hearted. And so I think before we get started, we probably need to say, a little virtual cheers to each other.
mhm. Yep. Cheers.
And, one of the reasons I decided to involve the brews was because when I post what I'm eating and what I'm drinking on
You
Facebook,
do. You do.
I get like crazy amounts of comments, and they're like, "What are you drinking? Oh, that looks so good," or whatever. So I was like, "All right, I guess people are interested, so let's include it, right?" So let's get right down into it. We're in the midst of April, and you're a title person. Title, I'll let you describe it better than me, but you handle refinance, purchase, and really more. But just from like the real estate side of things, things that a realtor or mortgage broker might work with, particularly is refi and things like that. You know, quick synopsis. What's title? What do you do? What's the purpose? How do you help?
Well, I guess quick synopsis of title. We search the public records back 40 and more years, and we see what the house was placed upon. So basically, we're looking at the land. We don't really even care about the house, I suppose, in a
Sure.
way. But we look to make sure that that piece of property has been transferred exactly the right way through whoever's owned the home. So and we don't go by address. We go by lot, sub, um, point of starting, all the way through the point of ending. So
And do you guys search by like a tax ID? Like when I'm in the MLS, I see, this long number. It probably is somewhere between 10 and maybe 20 numbers. I have never really paid attention. I just copy and paste it or click on it. But somewhere around there, we call it a tax ID. It's a property ID. Is that something that you guys utilize, or how do you find the property? If I give you my address is 123 Main Street, what do you do from there?
yeah, I mean, we can search and find by address, and if we have tax ID, that helps even more. But again, we are really just looking for that legal description. So
And so as I started to say, I mean, we're in the midst of March. I'm sorry, midst of April, and going back to the middle of March. Here in Michigan, we started a stay-at-home order. Um,
yes.
like it or dislike it, agree or disagree, that's what we're doing. And real estate agents, in particular, have found it difficult because we can't leave our house for the work that we have to do right now. Um,
Right.
you get a lot of business, obviously, from house sales. So, how's your business changed in the last about 40 days, almost 40 days?
Well, actually, right before this crisis hit, rates were incredibly amazing, and refis hit a massive spike. So all of those pretty much have been closing over the past month. So it's been a ton of refinance business that's closing right now, and it's kind of turned our entire world upside down right now. This coronavirus COVID-19 thing.
How so? I mean, I think I know, but like, how so? Like, how's it turned your world upside down?
Well, let's say, I'm going to somebody's house to close a refi. We want little to no contact. I mean, I don't want to get it, bring it home to my kids. I don't want to, if I'm a carrier, I don't want to give it to somebody. So we're trying to do everything no contact that we can. I have a mask. I look like a ninja walking up there. Sometimes I'll go and press the ring and people are like, taken aback. Who's this person in their mask? But we're doing, we're highlighting exactly where people need to sign. I will take a picture of somebody's ID and then FaceTime to, make sure that they're the ones that are signing. As a notary, I have to make sure that they are actually signing. And it's a little bit unorthodox right now. Funny enough, right before this happened, we had a training on remote online notarization, and that's something that's going to be coming. A lot of title companies are starting to look into that if everybody's not up already. But the state of Michigan is kind of behind. It's going to be happening where you can do e-recordings. So in the Tri-County area, it's going to end up being huge at first. But, if you want to do a remote online notarization, close in Marquette or something, I mean, that's going to be a ways away. Some other states are doing it. You have to send in your stuff to the state of Michigan and get your notary kind of redone. You have to make sure that, not redone, but you have to be allowed to do remote online notarization and things like that. So you have to be on the approved list. You have to have your entire operation up and running. It's going to be a little ways away. I know some companies are up and running already, but we were just starting to do it as the refi boom happened, and then it was COVID-19, and then
Sure. So things went to the back burner, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when I think of notary, to me, I think of it like you're the person, or the notary is the person who is verifying something is true. The person is the person. I'm guessing
they are who they say they are.
Yeah, right. So how do we do that digitally? I mean, how do you, even myself, how do you know when, in fact, you did a refi for us right before this all started, maybe a week or so before. And my wife was the signer, and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know that, though, if you don't know the person? It's not going to be everybody that you're going to know personally.
Right.
How do you verify that Cheryl is Cheryl when signing a digital notary?
So that's still, I mean, it's not still in the works, because it's here, it's coming, and that's kind of the kinks that we have to work through. But certain lenders are only going to be allowed to do that, or they'll, be okayed to do that. And through their system, they already have, like, you can e-sign, you do that all the time. You guys
Sure.
e-sign. But it's different when it comes to all the numbers and everything too. So it's going to be like a secure portal. Even the lender's going to have their own secure portal, but the title company is going to have their own secure portal. And you're going to have like your own, not VPN, but like your own hotspot on a private network. And you have to verify certain questions, and like the system will verify that you are who you say you are. Like, you don't want somebody holding a gun against your head, like, oh, you have to buy this house,
Right. Yeah.
really be, it's going to be really secure.
Yeah. And, I ask these questions because I think that these things can work, right? I think online, obviously, like you said, I've used Dotloop, DocuSign, AuthentiSign. I've used, I think, all of them that are out there, and they're great. I have clients that aren't local, so signing a physical contract can't happen. I'm working with a client that's in North Carolina. He's buying his property from North Carolina, so I'm not gonna see him. And even if I mailed it to him, then it's the same thing. I'm not physically present. So I think these things can work, but I also like to think about, well, how do they not work? So I'm guessing that there's a lot of built-in, like, parameters, safety protocols, like you were just saying. Do you foresee them being so strict or stringent that maybe a lot of people will say, I don't want to do that, I'd rather just do it in person?
Some might, but we're going to see it from the millennials more. Like,
Sure.
In some cases, you're not meeting your lender, and you don't even meet them the whole time. And a lot of these, the younger generation, they're like, why do I have to show up to a closing?
Right.
Write a check. I don't even own a checkbook, things like that, because everything's done online. So
Right.
I'm surprised it's taken us actually so long to get to this point, because, I mean, everything we do is online and mobile, and I'm still surprised that it's been taking so long.
I know for a fact, a lot of people said to me things like, what do you mean they have to get a signature? Or what do you mean, people are surprised in many ways how non-techy the real estate world is,
Mhm. Well, and the counties need those wet signatures too. We need to verify that you are who you say you are, and you're the one that's signing.
Yeah.
The hard part is at the county level.
So as a side note, every time you say you are who you say you are, I can just picture, I don't know if you remember the Bears coach about 7 or 8 years ago, and he has a press conference where he blows up. If you Google after this, you are who you say you are, or we are who they thought they were, oh my gosh, you will laugh your butt off. So every time you say it, I can't help but think of Denny Green. Anyways, so obviously we're going, you're going more digital. You've got the masks and the sanitizer and separate pens and those types of things. What about, like you said, we're in the refi boom, so maybe that's slowly coming to an end, because that kind of started early March, and most of those closings were probably 30 to 45 days, maybe faster.
Yeah.
How else, is business slowing? Is it getting busier? Like, what do you see from that standpoint?
It is a little bit slower. We're able to catch up right now, but as far as the real estate market goes, you guys aren't even allowed to show homes. You're not allowed to go in. A lot of people aren't comfortable buying a house that they haven't seen before. So there is a little bit of a halt, but I think that as soon as we're out of here, like now my house is too small.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you bring up 2 points from my standpoint, or our side of things, where number one, you almost are going to feel like a jerk when you start saying home office, when you list a home, because this is so tricky, right? Like, there's a serious thing happening. And again, I know there's a lot of opinions on it, so I really want to stay away from those. But at the end of the day, regardless of how serious you think this is or isn't, there are people getting sick and there are people dying.
Oh,
and that's a fact. And then everything in between is maybe opinion, or maybe not, but we'll leave it to opinion for now. And so when we, from a real estate standpoint, I like to think that I market, pretty well, and I market a lot.
Oh, yeah, you do.
And it's like, well, what do you do? Do I come on and start saying, because the fact is there are people looking to buy a home right now. Do I advertise that right now? Is that really what's important to people? If you were thinking about selling your house right now, are you still thinking about it? It's really hard to figure that out. So when we start to leave, and I think that's going to be a long process, but as we start to leave the lockdown, at least, what do? Do you say, this home has a home office, with this and that and all these things, and feature the thing that the people probably want most? Because you're seeing my home office behind me. I still haven't taken down, this used to be the kids' toy room, and so
can't tell.
I kind of love the superhero stuff, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind a little less superheroes, maybe leave one of them up and something else. So, things like that. And so we all converted, some people's home office right now is a TV table and their, family room couch, right? So that's,
well, my husband and I, we're both sharing an office. I'm at his desk right now, and I have a card table set up.
Yeah.
Sharing kind of work we're doing what we have to do.
Well, and the kids, right? So like during the daytime, my kids now have a little bit of online school. They had some before, but we've gotten a little more honed in now. And across from me is a desktop computer, and then my older son takes my wife's laptop up to his room where he has a desk. But when my son's on listening to audio files and stuff, I don't want to be in my office doing work, even if I'm not on the phone. It's just I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
Then I'm retreating to my bedroom where I have a desk, but the desk is like 18 inches, in depth. It has enough space for a laptop, and that's where I'm working. So, office space, whether you're working from home or you have 2, 3, 4 kids working from home, is going to be crucial. So that's like one big thing that you kind of bring up. But then the other part is, there's people that they needed or wanted to sell, and either they held off or, I mean, for an example of myself, I mean, I had two families that I can think of in particular. One whom they already purchased their home. There's building new construction, and
Yeah.
so they wanted to go ahead and sell, and we had listed the home, and when that deal fell apart, here we were, and they said, well, let's get it back on market, and we were very fortunate to find actually two buyers, for that home.
Oh, that's good.
But then the other one was somebody who we listed it like 3 days before the stay-at-home order came out. And then we said, all right, well, no one can go see homes, even though we have some virtual tours and stuff. I don't think anyone's going to buy right now like that. So let's hold off. Then those 3 weeks went by, and I see a big change. I put an offer in for somebody earlier this week, house listed in Canton for $259,900. And they had 4 offers, and all they had was virtual tours. Seller driven virtual tour. And what that means is, in case someone's not sure, somebody walked through their home with their iPhone or Samsung or whatever, recorded it, and they created a YouTube video and sent that out to the buyer's agents. And there was enough to get 4 offers. So, I think that
if the situation calls for that,
yeah.
If you have to, then.
But I have 2 or 3 people in the, just kind of waiting, right?
Yeah.
They're not in the demand to sell. They want to for other reasons, but they're fortunately not in like a financial situation or something like that. And so if we come out of this, stay home for at least real estate, say May 1st, maybe we're at least allowed to show homes with some restrictions and things like that. I anticipate May is going to be an explosion of listings and potentially an explosion of buyers. Obviously, we have concern about qualifying. There's going to be some people who unfortunately are still laid off, permanently out of work, furloughed, whatever. That's going to change things. But for a lot of folks, they'll start coming back to work, and lenders, will be more than understanding, I think, of why they were laid off, and maybe not require the usual requirements after a layoff. What do you think? You're making a face.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Go ahead. This is all.
We're seeing some new disclosures too in some of the loan packages right now. Verifying that your employment has remained the same all the way through, and I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be how 6, 7, 8 was. But I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I don't think there's going to be quite as lenient of a loan process, though. I still think it's going to be pretty standard.
What I mean by that is, if you were laid off until, say, I'm just using a date, May 15th, I think, and again, I'm not a lender, so I'm not, speaking from how I've seen it, done time and time again. But what I think they normally would do is require a couple of pay stubs minimally, and maybe more, maybe even a couple of months. I guess whatever the norm was, I wouldn't be surprised to see it shaved down a little bit, to say like you came back from work and a pay stub or maybe 2 pay stubs, we know that you're back at work now, versus maybe 2 months worth or 3 months worth or something along those lines. Like I say, whatever the protocol used to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see that changed. With that being said, it might be changed just like anything. It's changed, but you need a higher credit score, or it's changed, but you need more money down, or, things like that. So this won't be like a straight up, if you had a 620 FICO score and you still have a 620, the exact same parameters, everything's changing. And you're not like technically the one to talk to about that, but I think that's for the better, personally. One of the things that I feel like happened in that 2006 or 10 time frame was the ease of getting a loan. And it sucks when you're trying to get one, when you thought you were going to buy a house 3 months ago and suddenly you might not be able to. But at the same time, it's a protection against everybody, including yourself, because what was the one thing we heard?
Right. You don't want to default on a loan.
Yeah. And what did we hear? Well, I didn't know. Well, so-and-so told me I could. And so, and those are true things. I'm not saying those people made those statements up. Those were true. You know, they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know they were getting into an arm. They didn't, you know, so I think some of it's, you know, probably good. You know, you kind of, we're starting to get at this, like, what do you see, like, maybe never going back to how it was? I mean, just 35, 40 days ago, things changed. What, I mean, what do you think in 6 months you might wear a mask into a house?
I do. I think just something in my head, my crazy mind, I feel like this is gonna be the norm now. We're gonna be masks, gloves, people. I mean, are we gonna shake hands on the golf course? Probably not. You know, who knows? Are we still hugging people? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are weird things that I think about. You know, what's gonna happen at this wedding I'm supposed to go to in August?
Right.
You know, I don't know what's gonna happen with contact. Are people gonna want to be at a closing table and signing and having us explain documents?
Yeah.
That's why I think the RON system will be nice when that can get up and running, because then we won't have to worry about that. Everything's going to be secure. But there are going to be those folk that, you know, the seasoned generation, you know, they're still going to want face-to-face and explain these docs to me, you know, and it might be a generational thing.
Sure. So, like, right now, do you have people come into your office to close, or is every closing? Okay. So, because I know before, obviously, you know, people would come in for refi, but especially like purchase, depending on the office you work out of, you might not have a good closing area for a big closing. So if I was coming to your office for a closing on a sale, there's typically going to be a buy side and a sell side both there. Are we all in the same room, or are we in two different rooms? How's that look?
Separate rooms, the minimal amount of people possible. And then, you know, we're wiping down everything with wipes, and we have, you know, plenty of antibacterial. We have gloves if we need. Our closers wear masks. I mean, we're doing the best that we can. If you grab a pen, that's yours, unless, I mean, if it's left, we'll wipe it down, you know. Sure. But I mean, any closings that I've been going to, I'm like, nope, keep the pen. You touched it. You have a souvenir.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those guys, geez, I can't think of what they're called, but, you know, they sell like the merchandise, like embroidered, you know, koozies and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Their business might be booming soon with pen business, because they've always said how you should give it to someone because they keep it and it's on their desk and they see your name. And now, I mean, geez, you know, people are probably going to want to have pens made up left and right.
Yeah. Well, actually, recently, a lot of people are like, I have my own pen, and it's a black ink pen. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I have a blue one. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, so blue pen only for closings, right?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because we need to verify that it's in ink. I mean, you can see black. Sometimes you can tell, but, you know, for recording purposes, it needs to be blue.
Like in a color copy or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, you know, some of these things I kind of know, but, you know, my hope is that we're helping educate, you know, anyone that is listening later, you know, and they're like, well, why did she say blue pen? Is that a universal rule? Are there title companies that don't care, or is it always blue?
They should care. I mean, there could be, but
yeah.
It's a golden rule pretty much.
So, you know, I know that you kind of see things sort of on the back end, right? Like, you find out normally that there's a sale when somebody has already entered it. That's probably when a good portion of, you know, both the listing agents and or buying agents send you the information for a need for title work.
Yep, we're usually the last ones to know, unless agents, you know, have a listing and they're like, hey, I need pre-title on this. I want to see what's going to show up on here. But
right.
Usually we don't find out until contract is signed.
Yeah. So how do you gauge, or how do you see like the near and maybe long-term future? You know, this is just Sarah's predictions. Forget where you work, and, you know, you have insider information, but you know, these are non classified or non, you know, suggested from your company. This is just your personal opinions. What do you think?
I don't think anything's really going to change on that side of things. I think that's still going to be pretty standard. You know, we're not going to find out until, hey, this deal just came in. Can you pull title on this? All right. You know, I don't think that's going to change.
So. And do you think that, what do you think is going to happen with activity? I mean, do you think, like, let's just say once we get past the first wave of, you know, houses coming on the market, do you see the market kind of staying the same? Do you see it getting crazy busier, slowing down? What do you think? I mean, this is almost like even just
my hunch. I'm not an expert. I don't know. You know, I'm not a real estate agent expert. You are. But, you know, I think that it's going to explode. I think we're going to have a really, really busy spring and summer as soon as we find the parameters to do everything safely. Like, I think people are going to list. I think people are going to buy. Everybody being cooped up in their house, either, oh my God, my house is too big, I need something smaller, or, oh my gosh, I can't stand these people anymore, I need to get a bigger house, you know? So I think that it's going to get busy, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from everybody I've talked to locally, nationally, things that I read, it certainly seems that that'll be the case. You know, again, we don't know what the situation is going to be when it comes to true unemployment. You know, obviously unemployment is through the roof right now, but some of that is also because, you know, with us being less able or unable to work, you know, for example, a real estate agent has never been able to file for unemployment. Well, under the CARES Act, we were at least able to file for a little bit of unemployment, you know, better than nothing, right? So for the first time in 39 years of my, you know, life, and I don't know what, I started working at like 14 with a worker's permit. So however many years that is, I filed for unemployment, you know? And so there's a lot of filings that normally wouldn't happen, right? And when that changes, when there are people that do go back and things, there's still going to be people that don't. We don't know that real number. I don't think, I watch CNBC every day. I haven't heard anybody give me a fact on what they really think that number is going to look like.
Yeah.
If we can assume that it's not 20% or 30% of the workforce, I anticipate for sure, you know, that we go right back into a crazy seller's market like we've had for the last 6-7 years, where there's just not enough inventory. We did not have enough inventory entering this, and I'm seeing sometimes more pending sales than new listings, which would mean to me that, you know, besides whatever hit the market, houses that were on the market came under contract and went pending. And so with no new listings, you know, that buyer who's been out there for 2, 3, 5 months maybe is settling on something, worried that, you know, something's not going to come when they need it or whatever. You know, again, if your rent is going to start on, or you're going to have to renew a year term on June 1st, well, here in, you know, mid-April, you're probably going to want to enter a contract regardless of how much you love the home. Otherwise, you got to rent for another year, you know?
Yeah.
Those scenarios, they're not the overwhelming majority, but those happen. And we're seeing pending sales. And I think, you know, that's some of it. I anticipate when we can list homes the way we normally list homes with professional photography and professional videography, I would guess that we're going to see, you know, an explosion, and that they're going to get snapped up almost as fast as they come on market.
Yeah, like last year.
Yes, exactly. Ebbs and flows, you know, and I think that's really important too. So February nationally, February was a record, you know, month nationally when it came to house sales. And then here came March, you know, and everything that came with March. So clearly we're off our numbers, but, you know, there's already some states, you know, allowing things to go back to work. There were only 10 states that completely shut down real estate anyways. There were other states that had some more limitations, and then, you know, then there were states that just said real estate is essential and you can continue your business. And so I would guess that, you know, once people have just a slight frame of how they're going to be when they come to work, they're going to be out there buying. So that's my prediction. So outside of real estate,
it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And maybe that's good, you know, I guess.
Good. Bring it on. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so, like, when it comes to that, I mean, your kids are younger. My kids are, you know, in elementary school. I'm going to be bringing kids with me, right? It's like they're out of school for the rest of the year. They won't go back till September.
Yep.
And as we talk about things changing, I mean, even if there's a daycare open or something like that, I'm not going to send them right away. You know, I'm just not comfortable putting them in that scenario right away.
Right.
So, you know, for me, a big change is, and I just talked to somebody on Sunday. I said, we can go look at homes during the day once we're allowed to go look at homes. But my wife won't get home from work till between 3 and 5 p.m. So I'll have 2 boys with me and they'll have iPads and they'll be fine. Right? I mean, it's just
But you know what? People are so understanding right now because we're all in the same boat. We're all literally all dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as long as they're fine with it, I mean, everybody seems to be okay with it.
Right. And that's what I've told some people are even like worried to get on these like Zoom calls. You know, they're like, oh, I got kids in the background. I'm like, everybody's got kids in the background. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's got a dog or a cat or a lizard or whatever, you know, like everyone's got something, some distraction, right? Like nobody cares, you know?
Yeah.
There's people mowing the lawn. I mean, yeah, none of us are used to being on a conference call and having to hear the neighbor and close the window, but you know, that's the new norm and no one's really getting mad about that.
Right. I don't think anybody's really said anything to me like, oh man, I got to go grab my kid real quick. He's crying, you know? Oh,
right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think it's always kind of been that way. And it's always been us who want to keep it professional, right? I don't want to make you feel like you're always second. Like, I think it's implied my family's first, but but you don't want to feel like I'm constantly putting you, I'm too busy for you. Right.
Right.
And it won't be that way. I won't be too busy for you. It's just the difference is that you're literally seeing them in the background of these video calls. You're literally going to see them, you know, in the vehicles or whatever you got to do. Right. So, so like,
I have to bring my kids to some closings. They just sit in my car. Well,
yeah.
you know.
Yep. Yeah. No, exactly. I thought about that too, is, you know, rather than taking them into a house, just, set them on the nice thing is, you know, we're going to enter nicer weather, so they can sit on the porch, the door is open, you know. In fact, you know, from my standpoint, I'll probably move more to I'll get to the house before my clients go through it and then let them go through it, so we're not kind of going through together, right?
That's a good idea.
I could almost even be with the kids, you know, so we'll figure that out. Have there been some other changes that you guys have had to do on the fly, like some new things that you've been like, whoa, I guess we should do this now?
We have some papers that need to be signed, you know, COVID-19 ones. Have you been in contact with anybody in the last 14 days? You know, that kind of stuff. The answer is yes. Sorry, we can't close. You know, we just can't put anybody at risk. We can't do it.
Yeah.
Everybody now who's working from home, everybody had to get printers, and we're running out of ink really quickly because, you know, you have to print a copy package, you have to print the regular package, and we are constantly overnighting. I don't know how UPS is keeping up with any of this. So, I mean, we're letting everybody know that there's kind of a delay on things because night might not be overnight right now because, you know, UPS is inundated. So.
Yeah. So what's been the best thing that's kind of happened? I mean, it can even be personal. It can be like, well, you know, I don't have to pay for daycare. It can be whatever, right?
Well, that's a big one. That's the daycare one. We're saving a lot of money. So with that money, I'm pretty sure my husband bought a Peloton today.
Nice.
There's that. We've been cooking. I literally just saw it. Can you see it right here?
I can see that.
So there's like this really nice quarantine, like, you know, what do you cook in quarantine? And I saw some fried pickles and I was like, oh man, that looks good. I should probably make those.
Yeah.
I got splattered on. Yeah.
Funny.
They weren't even good. It wasn't even worth it. It was too bad. What about you?
A couple things. So the last time I ate food outside of my home was March 13th.
Oh my gosh.
We have cooked every single meal at home since then.
But there's so much more dishes. If I could any more dishes for the rest of my life, I'd be so happy.
The dishwasher is ran at least once a day,
Yep.
plus the stuff that you still have washed by hands. We do most of our like pots and pans by hand most of the time,
Yeah.
spatulas, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's been times where like, so, my kids have been beneficial or have been receiving the benefits of being at home because like I'm making a milkshake or we made brownies or, things that we normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And some of it's just to kind of get them involved. Like, okay, get out the 2 eggs, the oil, and the cup
Yep.
of water. Okay, you pour this in, you pour that in, you stir, you put it in the pan, I'll put it in the oven. Things like that.
Yep.
Right? Just something to do, occupy a few more minutes of something different.
Yep.
And so we've made banana bread, we've made brownies, we've made a lot of things that we wouldn't make. But I find that I'm not eating way more than I normally would. Like I'm definitely stopping by the candy after Easter and stuff like that, but
I'm looking at my face right now. I'm like, oh man, I think I gained like 5 pounds already.
so hopefully that Peloton's coming.
Yeah, God, get it here.
I was not so I used to like to get to the gym 3 to 5 days a week depending on
Yeah.
the schedule.
Oh, that's another thing that we were talking about, me and my husband today. What's going to happen to gyms? Everybody's kind of figuring out what they want to do from home. Plus, who's going to want to be touching equipment after somebody else did? It's going to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's start with like a big, like a Lifetime or a bigger Powerhouse or a Life Fitness, something like that. That already might be questionable, right? But those are big facilities. I mean, I don't know how big that Lifetime is in Novi and Ken, but I have to imagine it's 100,000 square feet of space. It's 2 floors. It's everything, right? But think about like the spin classes, the Soul Cycles and all these other places where you've got, the ride in Brighton. There's like 60 bikes in a couple thousand square feet. And I don't know if you've ever done spin, but I mean, you're hustling. And so this is kind of what it sounds like.
Oh yeah. Right? And like the breathe, yeah. The droplets.
Like I have to imagine that those things, I mean, I feel terrible for the folks that own those facilities. And then the smaller gyms, whether, I'm going to say the CrossFit gyms, even though they're not CrossFit, but the smaller, 2, 3, 4,000 square foot box gyms.
Or even at the schools. Like right. I coach at South Lyon High School. What's going to happen in the workout room.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to put 20 kids in there or people. And from a gym perspective, like, I don't know that you can afford to put only 6 people in at a time,
Right.
If I'm paying for all the stuff that I'm paying for with electricity and a trainer and the this and that, and then you're only going to put 4, 5, 6 people in there. I don't know if that's going to make sense. So, I mean, those are the things when I say, some people will go back to work. Yeah. The gym might reopen one day. They might be allowed to.
Yeah.
Are people going to want to go,
Yeah. So before that tangent, you were talking about working out. Sorry.
No, that's all good. So I was just going to say, but I lost like a motivation because I didn't have stuff at home, like I could do some lunges and I could do some this and that. And trust me, you can get a great full body workout with no weights, but I love lifting weights. Like that's part of my thing, like I want to see what I can do and whatever.
But if you don't have it at home.
So I got some stuff. Like I was able to figure some things out. So that, to your point, is like, all right, so what do we do next? When the gym's open, and let's just say it's completely safe. We get vaccines, we have tests, we have all this stuff. Like once I'm used to doing it at home, will you go back? You just potentially bought an expensive exercise bike. Are you going to want to let that collect dust, or are you going to want to use it and not go to a facility? So it'd be interesting. Anything else? What have you done? Like TikTok? Have you done any things that you didn't expect to do that you're like, okay, I'll join this?
I was on TikTok before. I'm not on it, but actually, right when the coronavirus thing started here, I found one of my daughter's books, and it's called Wash, 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 and it ended up being shared like a ton of times and getting a ton of views and stuff like that. And I ended up sharing it on TikTok, and I got like nothing. And but I mean, I rode my bike for the first time in like 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. I just
know
did
how to
that
ride
too.
it.
I just did that too.
Yeah.
We bought bikes. So my oldest son is 10. We bought bikes when he was less than 1. We bought the little trailer and all that stuff. I think he was in that trailer one time. And then I rode that bike maybe 5 times, and then we moved them to our new house, and they were put on one of those Rubbermaid, hanging things.
Yep.
And I pulled it down, and I rode it Sunday and Monday, and then today was crazy windy and all this other stuff. But I put like almost 13 and almost 16 miles on those 2 days.
Oh, I would die.
That was great.
I had trouble going around the block. So.
Well, you'll get there. But it was nice to get out. It was nice to be in the sunshine. It was nice to do something different. So I think that, I know like all the health equipment is like sold out. Like you can't find dumbbells, you can't find, you can find treadmills and bikes and stuff like that. But some of the other equipment, unless you find it, aftermarket, right? And even that stuff is selling like really fast. So it'd be interesting, some of the stuff that we see kind of happening, now from home. What else? Anything else?
It's gonna be the new norm. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be all the time mandatory for people to go to their offices now. Like, hey, look how much work we got done at home. We can still be just as productive, save you money at, you don't have to have the office space for us or whatever. I don't know. It could change the dynamic of how everybody's working.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look at bringing it kind of right back into real estate. Look at EXP, right? Like, arguably, as a company, now obviously every office is their own office, whether that's a big franchise or an independent, Joe Muck, solo agent dude. Whatever you do, and I work for Next Home, but I'm just saying that every office is independent, but EXP as a company is a virtual company. And
entirely,
so there's a couple of offices, right? Mark Z has his own office, and there's a few other places that have offices. But like, this is a company now that probably is able to sell like, hey, we've been forward thinking since we started because we don't believe in offices. We've been online. We have virtual trainings. We have, all this stuff that everyone else adapted to. And a lot of people adapted to it quickly, and there's almost no difference. But the point is, like I would guess, like you said, more people maybe move to a model like that, or maybe you don't move to a complete virtual office, but, similar to some of the other offices I'm talking about, there might be 300 agents, but you only have a building that can hold 40, 50.
Yeah.
Because you just have everybody else working from home, and you have maybe some top producers that have their own office or something like that, or, some people that really require it, but for the most part, just kind of like rented space, shared space, whatever, And I was thinking about WeWork, whose business model is shared office space. Well, who wants to share a space? Like, I don't want to share with somebody I don't know, like, so like you see some models that possibly are going to explode and others that maybe don't, all from the same concept, It'd be interesting. But I do think that definitely a friend of mine, he's like, I'm not going back to an office for like months, It's like, I don't need to, because I can work from home. I don't have to go see people, and I'm not going to do it until I know that it is 100% safe.
Right. Well, and then in some cases, you're going to be more productive too, because what do you do when you're at the office? You just
I mean,
talk to everybody.
I know before I was working for myself, it was a little bit after we had our son, and so I was set up to be able to work online, but I always went to my office, which was like almost 40 miles away, and that was just the way it worked. I mean, it was a 9-to-5 type of facility and stuff like that. But I had a couple of days, I said, I'm going to really need to work from home. I got to tell you, maybe it was because I was worried that my boss was going to question me working from home. Maybe it was because I was home, but I got so much more done when, I was at home. And
when you're not with your kids.
Right.
This is so hard.
Yeah, it is. And the hardest thing is like, they want to come up and ask you something, and you want to say like, leave me alone. And sometimes you do, but you can't say leave me alone like all day long, you know?
Right. Or to a 2-year-old.
Right.
Yeah. Mom, mom, mom. Yeah. Yeah. What? I'm on the phone, but mom. Like, your kids are older. You remember those days though. Like, you
Yeah. Well, and my
escape that.
youngest is very persistent. He's 7. And so, he will only handle that for so long, Uh,
Yeah.
so, and the other thing is too, again, I mean, they're doing some school stuff from home now. And so it's like, I want to say like, you can't talk to me right now, but they're actually asking a legit question. Like,
Yeah.
I
Like,
was
I
on a
need
call
help with my
yesterday.
schoolwork.
Yeah. He goes like, I had a question. I was like, hey, hold on. Right. And so like, and then he comes back. I'm like, just one more minute. And then he comes back, and I go, okay, and I muted the call. And I said, what do you have? He's like, what's this word? And the word was distinguished, and he's in 2nd grade, so it's like he didn't know what it was.
Oh,
But then when I
yeah.
told him what the word was, I still had to explain it to him, and then get context, right? So that's the problem.
Yeah.
But we're all working through it. It's
Oh,
these
yeah.
are. I work in with a group. It's like a mentorship for high schoolers and stuff like that, and so high school's basically canceled, so we're basically writing like letters like once a week. And I find that my theme in that letter every week is kind of like, there's frustrations and it's okay, but it's like what you do after the frustration, so yesterday trying to get onto one of these video calls with the classroom, and we couldn't do it, and I'm like, right, but like 2 seconds later it's okay. I mean, this isn't the end of the world. Couldn't get onto the
Right.
video call, we can still work, we can still do this, we can still do that, we're
Yeah.
healthy, those types of things.
We're
So
healthy.
yeah. So are you saying when you end a phone call or an email, do you say stay safe, or do you say
I do. I do. I find myself doing it. Stay safe, stay healthy.
yeah, like that's the new, like, kind regards, warm regards, have a great
Do
day.
salutation.
Yes, stay safe and stay healthy. um
Yeah.
Anything else before we go? Anything you need to say? Anything that's on your mind? Anything?
No, it's just going to be this. It's just, you think about what's going on. I never thought anything like this would ever happen. The last crazy thing that we've probably seen in our lifetime would be September 11th, and the world totally changed then. And it's going to be interesting to see how everything changes now. And
Yeah.
it's super cliche, but we really are all in this together. Everybody has their own way of dealing with it, and getting through it and everything like that. But we're all handling it in different ways, and it really is just going to be interesting to see where we go from here.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a unique experience. Every generation has had them, whether it was a world war, a Vietnam war, Gulf War.
Yep, there's always something that
There's
you
something
remember
that hits you, and and it just takes you back and changes the way you live, changes the way you perceive life, the way you think about things. I know for sure, as a real estate agent, we're always like, we got to make contacts, right? Like that's what's number one thing they train you in this business is making a contact.
Yeah.
And I do a good job of keeping in contact with like my sphere and my past clients and things like that. But it's like, those were phone calls, those were text messages, those were emails. And I mean, like, I can't wait to grab coffee with somebody.
I know, I was thinking about that too. Coffee.
It's
Go to
crazy.
Starbucks.
Yes. And the one by us is closed. And so even if
Big is still open though.
What's that?
Big B is still open.
Big B's open.
You can't sit in there, but
in town, Corner Cafe / Social Corner, whatever they changed their name to, is open. So there's definitely a lot of places. Tim Hortons is open. There's a lot of places that actually are open, like you said, carry out or drive through only.
Yeah.
But so sorry, coming back to that, I'll be interested to see certain businesses that maybe are able to thrive off of not having customers in their store.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a coffee shop, no, I think because part of the allure of a coffee shop is community being
and
inside.
Wi-Fi. And
it's a virtual office for people,
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see businesses that are doing this like curbside pickup, maybe reducing store space. Even a business like Lowe's or Home Depot. I mean, of course we'd go in there, but if they just had, if it was just like literally like warehouse space on shelving, they wouldn't need the amount of space they have. And then you place your order, show up, and it's delivered to you curbside, you know. I don't know. I think that there could be a lot of positives, you know.
Yeah.
No
People are
positive.
going to wash their hands more.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll see a decline in the flu and stuff too, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly there's no actual positive from somebody getting sick or dying or anything like that. But like
Right.
the things that we learn from it, you know, I
Yeah.
hope that people stop not spending money on research for, you know, vaccines and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
from
Well,
things that I've read.
I thought about this earlier today too. Like we put our kids in daycare because I wanted them exposed
Yeah,
to all these different, you know, colds and everything like that. I want them to be able to build up their immunities, but then it's like, is that smart? Like,
right.
I don't know. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, there was kind of a joke, you know, like if this happened in the 80s, our parents would have made us go out there and get it like they did the chicken pox or something like that, you know,
Hmm.
and clearly that
Like
was a joke.
a coronavirus party or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
chicken pox
And,
party.
and those were, you know, those were jokes, and hopefully, you know, we can laugh at jokes, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, like we wanted our kids. I did the same thing. I mean, it was kind of like I had to, but I also was always happy. And you know, knock on wood. And I don't think it's strictly because they went to daycare, but my kids haven't really been crazily sick. You know.
Yeah.
And I know some people, and again, I don't know that it's just because they didn't go to daycare, but you know, they get sick a lot. You know, so um,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, like I said, I mean, we were talking about summer camp, and I'm like, I don't know if we're going to do a summer camp this year, you know,
Right.
even if it's available. And it's not going to be sign-ups till June. That makes sense. But I don't know that in June I'll sign up, you know, just
Right.
for what?
Well, I was thinking, like I said, I coach cheerleading. My kids throw kids in the air and they catch kids. They're like bodies are rubbing up against each other, like
Yeah.
safety catching. So how is our sport going to change? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that's, you know, I could
Well,
go forever.
we have a cruise scheduled for the end of the year, and not
Oh, I
sure
don't
how we're
know.
going to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
and
they just carry sicknesses on them anyway.
well,
You know.
right. So, so we'll see what happens. But yeah. Well, let's plan on closing this puppy down.
Cool.
I appreciate your time checking in. Do you still have any of your old fashioned left?
I do. I do. Quite.
Well, you
No,
got enough at least for like a going away. You know, thanks for joining us, and
yeah.
cheers.
Cheers. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one, Sarah.
You too.
Bye. Don't know how to stop.